told your friend you're not okay.
In a corner of a heavily guarded airport, a plane had just touched down, carrying 7 people who had changed the course of world music history. It's not an exaggeration. It's not an exaggeration. This is real. It happened. And May 13th, 2026 will be remembered as one of the most emotional days in the long history of K-pop, and indeed, in the history of global music as a whole. When the 7 legends finally landed, there are moments in life that can't be described with ordinary words. Moments when your heart beats faster than usual, when tears fall before you even know why, when you realize you're witnessing something that will never be repeated in the same way. BTS's landing in Stanford, California on May 13, 2026, was one of those moments. RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, Taehyung, and Jungkook, 7 names permanently etched in the collective memory of millions around the world, finally set foot on California soil, bringing with them all the dreams, all the longing, and all the promises they had planted years ago in the hearts of ARMY. This wasn't just the arrival of a band. This was the return of 7 people who had left, some to serve their country, some to rediscover themselves, and were now back, complete, whole, ready to set the world on fire with an energy that felt even greater than before. The fans who had been waiting outside the airport since early morning erupted in cries and screams that blended into one incredible symphony of emotion. Some had come from other countries, from Indonesia, from Brazil, from France, from Japan, just to be on the same land, breathing the same air, feeling the same presence as the 7 people who had changed their lives. California had never felt so important. Before Stanford, a Mexico drama that made millions of hearts beat fast. But the story of this historic day didn't begin in California. It began the day before, May 12, 2026, in Mexico, where a scene that would go viral across social media platforms worldwide unfolded with an intensity no one could have anticipated. That morning, the BTS group was seen leaving their hotel under heavy security. To anyone watching from the outside, it was an unusual sight, even by the standards of artists of BTS's stature. A row of luxury Mercedes-Benzes lined up neatly in front of the hotel lobby, engines revving, the pitch-black windows leaving no room for cameras to peek inside. One by one, the members emerged from the hotel doors. They were dressed casually, some wore white caps, others opted for dark sweatsuits comfortable for long flights. But even in the simplicity of their attire, their charisma could not be hidden. They looked like icons because that's exactly what they were, even as they walked to the vehicle that would take them to the airport. The security team moved swiftly and efficiently. There were no gaps. There was no chance for anyone to get close. This was standard procedure, reflecting the enormity of BTS's global popularity, a level of fame that, frankly, already surpasses the definition of famous as we know it. But amidst all this planned order, one small moment managed to escape the attention of the cameras and immediately ignite a fire of speculation around the world. The Jungkook mystery, and why the whole ARMY panicked in a matter of minutes. A fan's camera standing at a distance, with its zoom turned to its maximum, captured something unusual about Jungkook, the golden magne, the talented youngest who has proven himself to be one of the most complete performers in the Korean entertainment industry over the years. Jungkook walked with a slightly different gesture than usual. There was something about the way he walked, a little cautious, as if guarding something, that immediately raised eyebrows among the thousands of eyes watching the video. The oversized jacket he was wearing that morning seemed to be covering something. Who knows what? But it was enough to send the collective ARMY mind into full gear. In less than an hour, hashtags related to Jungkook's name were trending across nearly every platform. On Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere, ARMYs filled their timelines with theories and speculation. Some expressed genuine concern. Had Jungkook suffered an injury? A demanding international tour schedule is no easy feat, and it's no secret that idols often push themselves to perform even when they're not in top physical condition. Others tried to calm the panic with a more sobering theory. Perhaps he was carrying a personal item. Stanford turns into a purple city. There's no better way to describe Stamford after BTS's arrival than this. the entire city turned into a sea of purple. Not metaphorically, literally. From the usually quiet street corners around Stanford's iconic campus, small, ever-growing crowds suddenly emerged. Purple lights were strung up in front of local shops in a spontaneous welcome. Banners bearing messages of love for BTS hung in various strategic places. Photos of the 7 members were printed large and displayed in storefronts by business owners who, consciously or not, were swept up in this unstoppable wave of euphoria. Fans from all over the world packed hotels around Stamford well in advance of the first concert. Many wore BTS-themed attire even as they walked around town. Modern handbags modified with purple touches, jackets embroidered with the names of their favorite members, or t-shirts bearing lyrics from songs that have become part of their lives' soundtracks. Korean restaurants around the Bay Area experienced an unprecedented surge in customers. Lines snaked out the door, even before lunchtime. Servers were overwhelmed, the kitchen was running non-stop, and it all felt like a celebration, because that's exactly what it was. A big celebration. There was a story circulating, and it became one of the most talked about stories among local California armies, about a fan who accidentally ran into a BTS staff member at a supermarket near Stanford. The staff member was shopping, including buying several bottles of Korean soju. For armies who heard the story, it was the sweetest confirmation. Even in the midst of their busy schedules, the BTS team was striving to create an atmosphere that felt like home for the members, ensuring that beneath all the glitz and sophistication of an international tour, there were small touches that were familiar, warm, and Korean. Stanford Stadium, when an ordinary place turned into something unordinary. Stanford Stadium already has a long history of its own. It's witnessed many historic matches, many memorable moments. But no one could have imagined that one day, this stadium would become the center of global attention not for sports, but for music, and not just any music. The technical preparations for BTS's 3-night concert, May 16, 17, and 19, 2026, began long before the big day. Technical staff, stage crew, lighting team, sound team, and hundreds of others packed the stadium like a swarm of bees, working with one goal: to create an unforgettable experience for everyone in attendance. The stage design for this post-military reunion tour is said to be the largest and most complex in BTS's history. Specific details are still being closely guarded, but leaks from sources close to the production team mention a giant LED screen system that covers almost the entire stage, a lighting installation capable of creating visual effects never before seen in a concert format, and a state-of-the-art sound system designed to ensure that even the audience in the furthest stands can perfectly experience every nuance of the vocals and instruments. The bass from the soundcheck could be heard even from outside the stadium, and for armies passing by, it was a kind of unofficial announcement more effective than any advertisement. They were here, they were practicing, and in a few days, the world would shake. Fans lucky enough to secure a spot near the stadium described standing silently outside the fence, just to listen to the sounds leaking out, faint chants, echoing drum beats, snatches of melody that made their hearts feel like they were being squeezed and released simultaneously. Borhi, Army. Stay tuned to Top K-pop for complete coverage of BTS's Stanford 2026 concert, from the setlist to the most unforgettable moments on stage. We're in this together.